How's it going, guys? It's your favorite executive producer and sometimes host of Look, Don't Touch, Shawn. Today we have a special guest with us. His name is Hanz, but also goes by Lakeside Vaga. Hanz, I want to give a little. I'll let Hanz give himself a little background info. But Hanz is also a music artist from New Jersey. I'm not gonna steamroll you. I'll let you do your thing.
Nah, that's a good intro. So like Shawn said, rapper, born and raised in New Jersey, of Haitian descent, and just started as a creative collective with some of my friends that I met in college, and we've just been building, creating music projects. We've been doing merch, art installations, and just trying to continue with our whole movement of what we're trying to do. So, yeah.
That's what's up, and I appreciate you having us on the show. And so, the whole premise of the show is we kind of want to have like an additional episode for people. Obviously, it's going to be audio for podcasts, but are you familiar with the show Walking Dead?
Yeah, I've never watched Walking Dead, but I'm familiar with yeah.
Okay, so The Walking Dead has a show after called The Talking Dead, right? And so we want this to kind of fulfill for our fans of the show as an extra kind of like viewership or extra to further the conversation for fans of the show. To go in-depth conversations on specific things that could be relative to the show or just about art in general. And then for our audio listeners, we want this to be a foundational podcast for them to get a better understanding of art, help bridge the gap between artists and audience, and help them understand how they can kind of put foundational walls within such an infinite parallel infinite universe. And so it's just a good way for people to learn how to consume and digest art and put their own perspective on things.
All right,
And so today, obviously, you being a rap artist and I guess holistically just an artist in general, I wanted to talk to you in depth about kind of art over the years and centuries and how that it kind of relates back to music.
Yeah, I think one thing about art is that its existence is forever, and it's just everywhere we are. We experience it in everything that we come in contact with. And I think the thing about art is that, like, in its many forms, like, it lives beyond us. Even when you're just driving around, you see buildings, like, that's art. You see the way roads are mapped out, it's all art. It all stems from it. So I think, like, I guess for me personally, that's what I try to take into account whenever I create is like, all right, how does this live beyond, like, myself? Even if I'm, no longer here, that's like the aim for it to be based in legacy. And I think that's the aim for a lot of art that's like built around us. So
you're saying, like, in terms of the music, your goal is to kind of tell your story everlasting in the lyrics.
Yeah, in the lyrics, I think even in just the whole approach to it, like where 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. The different elements of it with like the lyrics, the sound design, and even just like packaging around it. When we talk about like visuals, merch, just like the art palettes around it, like everything is aimed towards legacy. Because I would, for me, my biggest thing is like 20, 50 years down the line for someone to tap back into it and sample even my approach to things, even in the same way like how sampling actual music is happening, has been happening within rap and hip hop, and now music overall. But I think that's where it is. That's when you aim to like push those boundaries, even if it's not like the most sought after product within music. I think eventually, as long as it's down the line, it can inspire someone and push the agenda, push boundaries. So.
I like that. Yeah. And, one of the biggest things that I see with music is like, I feel like we stray too far away from the quality aspect of it, right? Like, we look back in the day and we see like people all the way from their videos to the album cover to just curating pretty much every aspect that's relative to their music, all has something to do with the qualitative aspect of the art, right? Like, I feel like now we have big artists, small artists, um, be that as it may, I just feel like we stray too far away from that, right? It's kind of who can be relevant for X amount and what's the streaming numbers looking like. And so I feel like we stray too far away from the art aspect of music. And so, for me, what are some of your motivators, or I guess some of your inspirations, and what keeps you passionate about creating this art and taking what used to be a traditional approach, which is now kind of like irradical. You're not following the system.
I think just to like comment on just like the qualitative, it's it's like it's art and it's music. I think what's presented to us is controlled by like the powers that be. So there's always those like it's kind of like how people explain like a glacier. It's like 10% of a glacier is like above water, and then 90% of it is just beneath it.
I like that.
I think the art world is, I think everything, honestly, reality is works in that sense, because it's like we're looking at whatever it is, a billboard chart, the billboards in the street. You probably see the same like 30 names, 30 faces, but like there's so much more that we have to search for. But that's the thing. It's just like our effort on our end as like consumers is like, there's so much more you could delve even deeper into it, as opposed to only what you're presented with. Because what you're presented with is like, it goes through these gatekeepers, it goes through these like even political giants, and there's so much politics that go into like what you're presented, that like it's our job to delve deeper into like what we're presented with, or what we expose ourselves to. But like in terms of all that, because there's so many elements that affect it now, because obviously like internet, social media, even the access to just making art, like it's
limited.
So like now so I guess like growing up, I'll start there. Like one of the moments that I remember being like inspired to even just try to understand like, what is art, is for myself, was like when I first saw the Kanye West Touch the Sky video.
Okay.
And it was just all encompassing to me, because I'm like, how does someone make this? Like I'm just seeing Kanye fly in the air. Like I'm seeing Pamela Anderson, like Tracy Ellis Ross, Neil. I'm like trying to understand, like, like what the fuck is
What's
this?
his vision?
Yeah, like what is this? And I'm seeing this Evel Knievel shit, but then I'm hearing like the sounds, like when you hear the horns on that shit, and then that's when I first was introduced to Lupe too, and then that's what made me delve into him even more. I think both of them, they came from an aspect that I think related to me, because I felt like what they were talking about, they were considering me, considering like another generation coming up, and everything that they were doing, where it's like Lupe, like even subject matter, like he's just he made me just like understand like, you have to try to think when you consuming these things, consuming this product and consuming this art. And then with Ye, it was like not only just great music, rapping, but like even his aura and his spirit. Something about it, I was like, like we should all kind of take that into our own DNA in a way. So, and I think from there, like it just opened me up to a bunch of different rappers, different artists. And then I think as I got older and I wanted to like understand how to make art for myself, like even with music, I was like, okay, like in trying to understand how to make music, it opened me up to like, like there's a bunch of these producers, there's engineers, there's
so many aspects.
So many aspects. Now, okay, I'm making my first mixtape, and I'm learning about covers and like designers. I'm like, I have to like know these people as well. There's so many elements people that are like fashion designers to graphic designers to all these different type of visual artists. So I think like we were talking about when you did the intro for everything, is like there's a wall, I think, between consumers and the people that are actually like in it, in the trenches of it, making art. Is like they see what they see. They go to the show, they see the artist, the DJ. They'll see the producer, but there's so many moving pieces.
Intricacies.
Yeah, that like art just seems like so infinite, like in terms of like who's required to put this one thing together that you pay like $10.99 for, but it took so many people like for that to happen. So,
but that's important though, because like you as an artist now, not only do you have to think about, okay, so what story do I want to tell? What do I want to say? And what do I want the world to know? But now you have to worry about like the machine of how that works. Yeah. And then how are you going to resonate with it too? Now you have to think about, okay, because I feel like a lot of the times in music, people would just be like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and it's genuine, it's authentic, and people are like, you know what, I'm rocking with this. Yeah. But now it's not like that because we're being programmed. And so for me, like you mentioned Kanye, and Kanye obviously is a fan. He's a universal favorite for a lot of people, right? Yeah, sure. But a lot of people don't understand, like Kanye as an artist, right? He's so meticulous, like to the T. Obviously, he's his own producer, you know. But you mentioned all the things that go into when you think about making music, like the cover, the engineer, the producer. And so, with Kanye's story is so motivational because he is the blueprint in believing in himself, right? Yeah. And he's pushed so many artists like Rick Ross, Nicki Minaj, Pusha T, Kid Cudi. He paved the way for a lot of people where he really focused on the artistry of the music versus just trying to be heard, right? And so I think it's a good point because art in itself throughout the years, I feel like look what it's become, right? So I feel like art is all about relevancy, right? We know about Vincent van Gogh and the Pablo Picassos and the Basquiats because of their relevancy throughout the years, right? The same thing with music. And so I feel like Kanye, when you hear all these stories about the Taylor Swift, and it wasn't really about him being the number one artist. It was about his image and who he was looked at as an artist, right? And so I think for me, on the flip side of things, I want to pivot to Drake as an artist, right? And so Drake, obviously, another top artist in
itself. In his own right,
exactly. Two very different artists, right? Because I feel like, though I'm not going to downplay, like Drake does have art in his music. He has some masterful songs. But I feel like Drake doesn't focus on the quality of music, if that makes sense.
You think so? Like, I'm gonna backtrack to even like what we talk about, like when you brought up like relevancy, right? And like even it's interesting you bring up like Vincent van Gogh and all this. Like recently, just kind of been just studying different things, like reading about like religion, art itself too, and you come to find out that like these guys weren't even like the best at their times as well. It's just what we're exposed to. Like one of my other homies, he put me on to some game about how like essentially like back when people were doing like religious based paintings, like when you see like Michelangelo's like and things, Renaissance era stuff, is like, and you see like these spiritual figures, and they were like, you see in all these paintings, they're all white, and it's because like the people that were paying these artists to put these pieces together, they wanted these paintings made in their likeness. Okay. So we're going through history thinking that these are like figures resembling of like these like folklores and deities and stuff like that, but it's really like these are the people with money in Europe. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just that, and but like even that makes me think about like that element of like that even like capital even controlling relevancy.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because like
I never thought about it like that.
It's that it's that game of like access.
Okay.
And tying it to the other point that you made about just like the focus shift into like very quantitative things like streams and followers and things of that nature. It's like as an artist, you kind of have to sit and you're always asked to like teeter the line of like I have to think like a businessman or woman, and then think like as just a pure artist, and then you have the people that are like masterful in it.
Yeah,
they're able to know, okay, this is the lane for what I want to make. This is where I got to stay on that spectrum, right? Like,
okay.
There's these pure artists that like they stay like all the way to the left, and it works for them, right? And then there's people in the middle that understand like I'm in the middle. I have to. You look like a Hove. Like Hove to me is just like he doesn't. I don't think he compromises
who he is,
and he's able to teeter that.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, I understand the business of this, but I am this lyricist, this the top dog in that shit. But yeah, to the Drake and like even like a Drake versus Ye conversation, they definitely I think they lead two different schools of like approaches to art, where like you see Ye in himself is like a university, because look at like who graduates from his world. Like you look at like a Virgil, like a Don C, I think like even like Ivan Jaspers and all the people, like when you think about good music and everything that derived from that, all those people provide an element where it's like you can't not be holistic in your approach to it. Like we're bringing in design, like even how they had like Donda House and everything. Yeah, they're bringing all that. About that. Yeah, they're bringing like all that to the forefront. And it's just I think their whole game is approach and taste, right? I think on the other end where Drake is just like sometimes you be listening to this shit, I'm like, yo, does this nigga miss? Like,
I get it.
Yeah, like in the music, and then I think like honest opinion around like the art direction around everything else. Like when you look at someone like him, where it's like the visuals may not be what like a Ye makes or like what a Rocky makes.
It does what it needs to do.
It does what it needs to do, and I think the reason why he's where he is, I think he just understands that.
He understands the machine.
He understands the machine. I think artists get tripped up when it's like you don't understand like the placement of your shit, where it's like, yo, your shit is this, and you have to understand the art of it, the art of the business of the art within that lane as much as you can. And I think his team just, they understand that to the fullest for like that lane that Drake is in, whatever lane he occupies. I know sometimes it seems like every lane, but like I think he knows what he's not. I think that's where that comes into play.
So who do you think? It's tough to think, because I want to say that like would Kanye have an everlasting like legacy over Drake, but I can't sit here and say that he would, because of who Drake is.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that, Drake is pretty much the top dog in his own lane.
Yeah.
Right? But what's better for the sake of art? Is it knowing the machine and playing the game at your own kind of...
Yeah.
Or is it influencing the machine, influencing the people who consume the machine?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because Drake is like, I feel like, and don't get me wrong, I love Drake.
Yeah.
But like when I listen to, what's the I can't even think of it. Kiki, do you love, like if I hear a song like that?
Oh, in
like
your feelings.
Yeah, in your feelings. If I listen to In Your Feelings or like a Drake bop, something real quick, you know what I'm saying? Even Laugh Now, Cry Later, right? It bangs, for a minute. Like it definitely be like a summer bop, but after that, it doesn't hold as much replay value for me. Right?
Yeah, I understand.
And
yeah.
so when I think about it, it's like I feel like I can go to any Ye album and draw inspiration from that. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like Drake, there are his first couple albums for me, all the way up to like Views. That's it. Anything after that, I really don't have that much replay value because he became who he is, the top dog, right? And so like you as an artist, you know, what do you think is better? Is it knowing the machine and becoming the biggest artist because you, I guess, eventually become the machine? Or is it pushing the machine from unorthodox means?
Yeah, I think so like we don't know any of them personally. So I would say like as artists, I don't think, because we're using these two as an example, I don't think either of them technically lose in that situation.
There's no win-lose.
And I think you need both. And you have to like decide which one you like really want to be as an artist.
Okay.
But I think you need both, where like I look at Drake and I think he understands like the game and the machine of like where the trajectory of everything is going. We talk about like
music,
music and how it's become like even quantitative. But I think that with that we overlook like he still makes great records. Those artists where it's like they play that quantitative game, but you feel that in the music.
Yeah. And like you know what kind of song you're about to get.
And but like with Drake, like even going back to like replay value, I remember we was talking about this, like how like even his B-side records, I'd be like, damn, this is the shit. I would want a B-side like show
for sure
from Drake. His B-sides records are crazy, but I think with him, he understands like he's so super tapped in. I think we overlook like how his ears to the street is, and like he's able to just adapt. He's like that chameleon in a way. And I think to that, it's like I always think about it, I'm like, yo, is he making this because he can and he understands that he's just that great, which he is, or is he trying to like, is someone like that like doing their best to stay like overly relevant? It's like you kind of like, and then a part of me is like, don't think too deep, but then a part of me is like, damn, I wonder, like, you know, there's certain projects where like you condense it down.
Yeah.
Some shit like that we debate about whether, you know, it's a classic or not, like would be classics. I think it going to the thing, I think he understands like, all right, what's gonna hit super present, and then I think there's that Drake bag where it's like, all right, that's probably what I'm gonna listen to when I'm older in the crib when I got kids, like those like B-side records. But
it's I feel you, it's tough to really say right now, at least. I feel like now that you mention it, he might have like kind of toppled. Well, not toppled because the machine is always going to run, but like he is a bit above the machine. Yeah. He is the machine, but he also is a bit above it. But with that being said, you know, you said you had to choose two sides, but me as a consumer, and I'm consuming this music, don't you think that it's a little bit dangerous knowing that he's playing the game and not necessarily always get, well, let's zoom out of Drake for a second, right? Let me make it a little bit more relatable. So you know how we have new Music Fridays? Right? Like I listen to a couple albums on New Music Friday. I fall victim to it too. And I could tell you, like anybody could tell you, like I have a pretty good ear for music. But at the end of the day, we are so trained behaviorally from like these streaming services like Apple Music and Spotify, where it's like you have to listen to this song now. You know what I'm saying? Or this album like this weekend. And after that, you don't really play it anymore. And then you go to the next album for next week, right? And so like for me, I try to at least pace myself a little bit because, you know, I don't want to listen to the album at the gym. I'm not going to really appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and going back to replay value and like people understand the machine, people are just putting things out. And so outside of Drake, you know, these people who understand kind of like the intricacies of it, I think they're depreciating the art value aspect of the music, and also it's making our minds depreciate music holistically.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think it's like it goes back to like what we have to analyze those factors that are playing into it now. Where like, you know, I would assume pre-internet, like discovery of artists is so different. Where it's like, you know, now I could just tweet a mixtape and someone could find it and someone could play it. And thinking about before, like you needed to go through all these
different channels,
LimeWire, like
you DatPiff.
And then I'm even thinking also even before that, you had niggas waiting outside of like record label buildings to get their shit played, or like radio stations and stuff now. So like the internet, it helped in a way where it kind of got like certain gatekeepers like the fuck up out of here. But then on the flip side, when you think about like just the overall like information overload of like the internet, like even on one app like Twitter, where you're just scrolling through billions of opinions daily, billions of stories, and sometimes it feels like information overload. But like, just to bring it back so we don't go on a tangent, but to bring it back to music is like, there's just so many people making music, and for totally different reasons. Because when you look at like when you hear older artists talk about rap back in the day, all them niggas talk about how like, yo, if you was a rapper, people be like what are you doing, like you know what I mean? And now it's like everyone's trying to do that for different reasons. Now the reasons vary because the access is so different now. You have A&Rs that are like A&Rs and just people in music telling you like, man, if your numbers aren't this already, or if you're not reaching this many people already, then we can't. They're probably not going to look at you. But when you look at it, it's like, is that even really real artist discovery? Like, do you yourself believe in this piece of product? Or are you looking at everything outside of it? Because in a sense, like nigga, like, isn't that your job? Like, if you believe in it, then that's what, like, when I look at different people in the music business, it's like, yo, like, if you believe in this product as art, then that should be where you pull in. And it's like, even if you feel like you're taking the risk, it's like, yo, like, if you've never feel like you've taken a risk taking on an artist because you truly believe in it, then like, what are you in it for? Like, you're literally just a pawn at that point. Like, but yeah, I guess like, back to I feel like I kind of rambled into
no, it makes sense because like, so if that's the case, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel, you as a music artist, that there are more people trying to create the narrative around, more so than not, right? Where you have to be a somebody before you can even be a somebody in terms of music?
Yeah, cause like it's like labels, like when they give you bread, they're loaning it to you. So there's like a risk in it. It's like each artist themselves are businesses. So it's like, if you bring a business idea to an investor or a bank and they don't see any traction in it, where it's like, why would I even put bread into this if there's nothing circulating behind it? Yeah, behind it. So I get that point where it's like, you know, these labels, different people working within music business, they have to like take a look at that. But in that, it becomes unfortunate for people that like are really gifted. Not that the people that they're signing aren't gifted at all. It's just that like people end up losing at the end of the day.
More talent than...
Yeah, I think more talent than anything, because all the other stuff, all the things that are quantitative, that could be smoke and mirrors. Like you could boost streams. There's bots for things with followers. There's all these things. And you know, it's crazy because at some point, like my pops, right, he told me this proverb growing up about like lying. And he said lying is like a leak that's like dripping in the same spot. Eventually that motherfucker gonna open up, right? Mm-hmm. And you could do all these things
become a big puddle.
Yeah, or become a big puddle, right? And you could do all these things to mask or to create like a narrative, but at some point, like something in real life is going to expose everything that's going on. So like, even if you, even with like boosting followers or um, like boosting streams, things like that. Like if you got like 1 million streams on your on a couple records, or not even 1 million, but like a couple 100,000 streams on your records, but like you can't sell out like a small venue, something's not adding up. Something won't add up. So like, and I think that's where going into like being a somebody before, I think people overly focus on that so much because they're just trying to make it. For whatever reason they're trying to make it, everyone at the end of the day is trying to make it.
So it's really fuck the music and how do I game the system, or how do I?
Yeah, for some people, yeah.
But then if we, by your logic, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because you are a music artist and can really focus on it.
Yeah.
If we're looking at art over the ages, imagine if, and it's bad because we are seeing it somewhat now.
Yeah.
But like, would you want to be in a world full of Kanye's as an artist, or a world full of Drake's? Because it's saturated. Whereas like, if I'm in a world full of Kanye's, everybody's influencing in different means. Like, I can push you as an artist and focus on the art. Like, there are artists that had rivalries before they even like distinctively had rivalries. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you look at it holistically, I feel like even now with art in itself, like it's starting to pan and trend towards what's going on in music. Look at what's going on with NFTs, right? Like, no one can even explain what an NFT is from a just like concise standpoint. Yet there are people who have never done art in their life creating NFTs for people to buy at a high ticket just to make $1. And that depreciates it because people can't even, real artists can't even sell their work now.
Yeah.
You have the Tom Brady's of the world creating a Tom Brady autographed photo of themselves. Yeah. And so like it's depreciating the art. And that's why I'm asking you, you know, at a certain point, even if, you know, obviously like Drake is Drake, it's still harmful to consumers and people who might not necessarily understand like a different lane of art to be projecting these narratives and you're behaviorally like training these people to digest things from a way where it doesn't even appreciate it. It's just straight consumerism.
Yeah.
What can I do to hold your attention for X amount of time? Can I make a profit off this person?
Yeah.
And for me, you know, obviously being in like the design world and the art world, I can't go along with that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we all fall victim to it, but I feel like there has to be a shift in culture where even in music, the art of music has to trend back to the power goes to the artist. You know what I'm saying? In art, the power needs to go back to the artist.
Yeah.
There's so many people in the art world now where they're like, similarly too, like, oh, we'll host you. You'll come to this gallery. We get X amount of profit. You know, you need like reps. And it's not really fair to people. You know what I'm saying? I feel like with Look, Don't Touch, with the show, with the pod and the audio episodes, I feel like we want to be able to give people their own opportunity, create a perspective, and create those walls and boundaries of like, you know what, I'm not going to listen to the machine. Or, you know what, I'm going to take my time to actually listen to this album. I'm going to come back and listen to it in a month. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not like, because I feel like only niche people do that. Like you, a music artist, sometimes you'll come back to it. But like the average person is just like, I'm going to get this out of the way. You know what I'm saying? We want to, I guess what I'm trying to say is pacing. Pacing for the artist and pacing for the consumer.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, so I'm gonna just respond to a couple of things, but like, I think where in the whole thing of like a world full of Ye's or a world full of Drakes, I think though it's like a though what it may seem like an overload of us getting like all this music because it felt like the internet has cracked the sky open. I think the beautiful thing about music is that there's a place for every type of music right now. Yeah. And I think it's more so about whatever lane you occupy or whatever type of artist that you want to be. I think the main thing is about approach, like to push yourself.
Push yourself in that lane.
Push yourself in that lane because that's what's gonna make everything better. I think times that where music feels lackluster is like when people make this like arbitrary records where it's like it's just like
holds no value.
Yeah, it holds no value. There's no like the essence of it is, or like the aura of it is more so like, I understand that it works. This is good music. Like it's good music. It's like
it's gonna do what it does.
It's gonna do what it does, but it's not bad nor great. And I think that's where like the push should be.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like thinking about it now, so for those listening, I feel like, and Hanz, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, in order to try and for people to, I guess, for the art of music to appreciate, or art in general to appreciate, is pushing yourself in your lane and don't try to be this macro, just like I am this big artist over here, and relating it back to music, it's kind of like the Tyler Creators of the world. Like that's his lane. He's really good at it. He's a really good rapper, really good artist, makes his music. The Solanges of the world, it's instead of going into that saturated market of trying to create your share of voice in that big market, you own a larger portion of a smaller sliver.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's like a market share thing where it's like like, so one of my homies, his mentor, he was breaking this down to him. I thought it was like really profound how he broke down like, we have this like market share where you have like popular music that's holding a certain amount. It's like, let's just say like what's really on the charts, what's really getting spins on the radio is holding like 80%, right? And it's like, all right, someone sees that as an artist like, oh, I want money, so I'm about to make that shit, right?
Okay.
But you gotta divvy up that 80% with all the niggas that want to make that shit.
Yeah.
So like, in a way, you're not gonna hit as big of a bag, I feel like, just going straight to that. And I think like when you look at someone like more niche artists that, they may be part of like a smaller percentage in terms of exposure, and maybe even notoriety, but they don't split that percentage up with as many people.
Yeah.
And now it's like you even look at like look at a Solange, where whatever lane that she occupies, she's like the Drake of that lane.
Yeah,
like,
she's like a top tier.
Yeah, she's top tier. Or even like Tyler, like, so I'm gonna use Tyler as an example to like bring this whole topic like full circle. Like Tyler is, in my opinion, top 5 where like when you look at like not even just art but just like everything the nigga does.
It's crazy.
There's no
swag is on 1,000.
Like everything, like there's no metric for someone like that. Like that nigga just creates his own like equations at that point when he's just breaking through like a lot of perceived limitations, where like even like to that, I think I see him in the same light that I saw Travis's rollout
and his longevity.
Yeah,
too.
longevity.
Nobody thought that like these weirdo rappers.
Yeah. But not knowing like that nigga was in interviews like growing like in 2011, 2012, in like 2010, like just talking about like he's the nigga that's drawn his own donuts, and like I feel like we didn't hear that because like it's all the crazy shit that they was doing and shit, like our future shit, but Now it's like those donuts turned into nigga got Converse, golf the foot, like
golf,
fucking Flognaw now, and like just everything that approach. So I bring that to the whole like micro macro thing where it's like I think he's an example of how like a really niche artist figured out how to like figure out this alchemy of like making this very rare stone accessible. Like when you look at that nigga is
he's him.
He's him. Yeah. Like he's him. And I think no matter what your approach is, if you make this like perceived macro music or micro music, I think at the end of the day you still gotta figure out like your business model in it. Because at the end of the day, niggas gotta eat.
For sure.
You have to eat. Like and
but I feel like he don't even do it for the money at this point.
I think he just understands
and his music is better and better. Everything he's been doing has been getting better and better.
He's just someone that like he's amazing. He's definitely someone I look at where like I take elements of what he does and I'm like, yo, how do I bring that to my own shit?
And it's funny you say that because when I'm thinking about like niche artists that I listen to, I do go back to a lot of their albums too.
Yeah.
And they pace themselves well. The relevancy in it as well.
Yeah.
And the relevancy of their art.
Yeah.
And the music behind it. They do a really good job maintaining that. And so I really never thought about it like that. But when you think about it, even in the art spectrum of art in general, you have to be very good at what you specifically do.
Exactly.
To become the Basquiat's of the world and the, even Andy Warhols of the world. And we could even say Terry Richardson. He's the only one who shot photography like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though there's some, controversy.
He was on some weird shit.
But like when you look at it, you're going to have the people who break the norm immediately. Like the Kanye's, right? Because you have to live, breathe, and die the shit. But there are so many other artists that are, like you said, there's no metric to them. Like a Tyler to other people could be just as big as a Kanye.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter how we universally as a world may see it. Like he might not ever be from a metric standpoint that they have a universal gauge or a Billboard metric that'll be a Kanye, but he doesn't have to be, right? And I think, for people who want to be able to consume art or music in general, it's like if we kind of look at the aspects of who this artist is, they're not straying too far away from. I mean, it's cool to try new things, right? Like 808s was a classic. It influenced probably like 70% of modern music. But if we can kind of take a look at, all right, who is this? Who am I about to listen to? I could kind of make a preconceived notion about what they're about to give me. From a sonic standpoint. And then if it surprises me, it surprises me. I feel like you could digest it a lot better that way.
That's where like the whole thing about art, so for me personally, I look at it as a platform to try to be as like fearless as possible, and that's why I feel like people that have had moments in their lives where they've been the most fearless or they've made like what we see as like fearless art, that imprint that it makes, whether it's recognized in the moment or down the line, is immense because it breaks a lot of walls down for artists where it's like, I look at that, like you look at an 808s, like it's like, yo, niggas want to like Ye to rap, but like he's, for him, he's like, I can't. What's going on in my life right now, I can't rap. That's like literally what he was talking about with like 808s, and he felt like that was the only way he could express that, and that was fearless because it was vulnerable. Like I look at even something like 444 when you look at the backstory of that, like he's just saying like, this is my most vulnerable. That's like the first. When you look at it,
scandal.
And that's like even that the album is like a Shawn Carter album. It's not even like Jay, like we say Jay and Hove and all this, but like that's a Shawn Carter album.
I'm me.
This is
real.
It's real, like,
I can lose it all.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna say it
exactly. You know? And I think that's where we look at it. You know, the aim should be always to be fearless. Like, I think that's what it is. That's where the greatness lies, in everything. Cause like, you know, everyone has like the aim for their magnum opus and things of that nature, and we think we know what that is, but
you don't know.
You don't know. You never know till you can. I've been here. Not me. I'm saying like till you could say I've been here X amount of years, and I could see like each of these projects where it's like, damn, this was my biggest project, but like this is my best project because I needed this. I needed that project
easily.
Yeah, that's where I feel like a lot of artists, like even to Drake, I'd be interested to hear like. And now, like, his life has changed. Like, he's a dad and stuff now. So, like, we still got, like I want to hear, like, dad raps and shit like that. Like, I want to see, like, what perspective, like, he's going to start rapping from where we look at it. And, like, I would be interested to hear, like, what he says that album was for him where it's like, yeah, this is probably my biggest project because of all these quantitative things. But, like, this is the project that I needed to make because, like, that's what life was pulling me to make.
That makes sense. Yeah. And maybe that's why he's pushing CLB back.
Yeah. You know what I'm
saying? It could be something like that.
Yeah.
That makes me think about when Future said he stopped doing drugs and his music somewhat changed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you just never know kind of what mindset or just like level someone is on in order to create art, and what are the intricacies that go into or life moments that go into like, okay, maybe let me stop bullshitting and really get in my bag to do something like that. And so, I mean, that's good, man. I think about like one of the songs I listen to all the time is like Through the Wire. Like Ye was literally rapping with his mouth shut.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like you can feel the energy. You could just hear,
moment. Yeah.
You know. And I'm like, damn, I'm so motivated right now.
Yeah.
If he could do it, I could do it.
Exactly.
And so I like that. I think, you know, it's you beat me to it. I was gonna say, you know, if you wanted to have like any message as an artist that you kind of want to get across, but so you said you want people to be more fearless in terms of their music, but as a consumer, you know, the people who are listening or watching the show and everything, like from your perspective as a music artist and how they consume the art of music. How do you want them to? What would be a suggestion on how they should really go about it?
Yeah, I think to not just take what's presented in front of you, and to take your time to figure out what it is that you actually like. And I think like I would love like consumers to approach the way they consume as art. It's in a way too, because like I always tell people that like that don't do art, and I'm like, yo, like y'all should regularly mood board, even something like that, because that like allows you to just see your thoughts in front of you. And I think the more and more people do things like that, where they approach themselves as artists, because a lot of people are artists and they don't know. Not even in the fact of like, yo, like not even the fact like you don't do something technically art, but I be thinking about, this is really weird, but like it's like growing up and you got like a little bit of ketchup at the end of the bottle and you got to add like water to make it last. I'm like, yo, like that's like an artist's perspective of trying to handle a situation, because like you're literally just trying.
That's nasty.
Yeah, it's definitely nasty. I feel you. But niggas like, but yeah, niggas be trying to make sure like just remixing like life and just approach. Artistry is more about approach than product, I think. Like that's
you
where
put that in a bar.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. We gonna use we gotta make a timestamp. Yeah. But yeah, it's all about approach as opposed to product. So like that's why I always look at people that don't see themselves as artists. It's like, no, like your thinking is what makes you an artist. And you know, there's professional artists that are able to make product out of that thinking, but like there's other lanes. Even just as a person, like as a human, like just approach it that way. And I think that will allow people to understand like how to consume art. Because there's people I've met that, like, I don't know if they necessarily think about the art that they take in. And maybe I'm saying this from a, I don't want to use the word jaded, but like spoiled sense, because, like, you know, we're black. We're part of black diaspora. We're the one race where, like, our music spans from, like,
it's global,
and, like, the range of topics, like,
it's everything.
We in the club talking about shooting a nigga, and then the next day we're bumping To Pimp a Butterfly saying this is the most beautiful album. And in this, I guess the silver lining in that, what, like, maybe hypocrisy is that, like, we're just human and we take in everything, and we're walking spectrums. And
for sure.
so I say that we're spoiled in a sense as black people, because, like, we have that luxury of, like, listening to all this type of music, where I don't know if, like, other cultures necessarily had that. Because, like, one thing I've been asking, like, different people is, like, yo, like, the artists in your nationality or culture, like, do y'all have like a Kendrick Lamar? Like, I always ask that. Like, I don't think
something that's analogous to...
Yeah, like, I think and not to say that, like, other cultures don't have great music.
They definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, I think about, like, yo, they're making music for celebration, but I think about, like, is there a Kendrick Lamar where they figured out like his whole thing, like, yo, how you let a conscious nigga on the charts? Like, I always think about that, like, yo, dude, do other cultures have that? And, like, we really got to look at, but, like, nah, like, even like, I think about, like, Latin music. Like, I would want, like, there to be someone where it's like, and I'm saying this from a place I don't know yet, because I haven't been exposed to it. So
for sure,
if there's anyone watching this and you want to put me on game, by all means do that. But like, I always wonder, like, is there gonna be like a Kendrick in Latin music that literally is on the charts, but is, like, making people delve deeper into themselves and their worlds and their cultures and, like, their politics and stuff. Like, we even have, like, older African artists. Like, we had people like Sam Cooke talking about change gonna come. Like, we're not gonna run out of this. Like, maybe that's just the well that we have as black people too. So, because we've been through so much.
It's different, yeah. Because we have stories and trials and tribulations where we could talk about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel it. I mean, I'm not gonna say like Bad Bunny is like a Kendrick Lamar, but, like, even Bad Bunny as an artist, you know, he transcends just like Latin music into pop, and, like,
I agree.
And Bad Bunny is even, like, he's for gay rights, for women rights, and so, like, he's, like, especially in
that's a fearless nigga.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying?
Nigga,
and so, like, I want to see more of that, because Bad Bunny, like, people don't even they can't figure him out. Yeah, but he's popping, right? And so, like, you know, to your point, I see what you mean, where, you know, you kind of just you create your own lane. Really, it don't got to be a lane that's already there. Yeah. And then next, you know, it's limitless where you can go left, right. Like, I start off in Latin music, and now I'm one of the biggest pop artists out there. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Bad Bunny tickets going for bonkers. So, I wanna thank you for
for sure.
You know, coming to the show. Yeah. Really appreciate your perspective on the artistry of music. You being a music artist, being a rapper, you know, kind of telling your story. You know, would love to see what's next for you. Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. Anybody again listening, you can listen to Hanz. His Instagram is at Lakeside Vagabond. This is Art Talks by Look Don't Touch, or a podcast to be named soon. However, we want to keep these as private, intimate sessions, kind of just discussing various topics in the art realm. So stay tuned for more episodes, and appreciate you guys listening and tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.